If you've played Hunt Showdown within the last year, you've been privy to the amount of effort Crytek has put into creating more longevity and meaningful progression in Hunt Showdown. We've had the introduction of the quest system, the battle passes, and arguably the most exciting of all, the Wildcard events, which is our point of discussion today. I want to build a timeline discussing when Wildcard events were added, why, the impact they've left on the game at large, and ultimately, whether or not they were a great addition to Hunt Showdown. This is Breaking the Barrier, and today, we're going to talk about Wildcard bounties. So, we've had different types of events in the past, but none were arguably as impactful as the event announced on December 9th of 2022. The Inferno trailer dropped to great success, featuring a random chance for your entire map to be coated with fire, raising the stakes of your hunt significantly. Taking a look at the Google Trends distribution for Hunt Showdown in December of 2022. The day that the Inferno trailer dropped was the 9th highest day for Hunt Showdown Google searches in the month of December. This doesn't sound like a big deal, being 9th, but you must remember that during the month of December, the entire Devil's Moon event also dropped, which is one of the most popular events Hunt Showdown has ever had population-wise. Going off of the game's Steam chart, it was in fact the second highest peak population the game has ever had in 5 years. And as the Inferno wildcard was a part of this event, we'll say both contributed to the popularity of the game during this whole month. Amidst a myriad of server instability issues due to the game having an overwhelming amount of people trying to play at the same time, the event was still very popular. Going to the discussion thread on Steam detailing the Inferno wildcard schedule for the remainder of December, we see that while the entire event was well received, once the server instability issues were resolved, the Inferno wildcard was, needless to say, very polarizing. Players loved it or they hated it. Some players wanted it in every game. Some didn't want it at all. It's crazy. If you go back and scroll through these pages of responses, it is genuinely a 50-50 toss on whether they love it or hate it. It is polarizing. But regardless, we can say one thing. The entire event, wildcard included, was a smashing success. Players came in droves, and many of them were simply excited at the future prospect of what more wildcard events would be available going forward. Throughout the next few months, the Inferno wildcard was brought back sporadically for different weeks and weekends, but there was one remaining question amongst the community. What next? Let's jump forward a bit. It wouldn't be until March of 2023, 3 months later, that we'd receive more information on our next wildcard event. March 7th, Crytek would drop the developer update video, What's Next in 2023, where they would discuss a series of topics, including the future of wildcard bounties. Our big, beautifully bearded GM of Hunt, David Fifield, went into details regarding what Crytek learned from the previous wildcard event, and that they took a lot of the criticisms very seriously. While Inferno was still definitely successful, there were still improvements to be made, and they already had great ideas.
Tracks, and we're going to allow the players the choice of saying, do you want to go to a standard contract that has a rotation of the daytimes, or we're classifying the night as the wild cards, where it's just going to be rotations of nights. And so as you go into those, we'll be looking for your engagement, we'll be looking for your feedback. We will run more of the surveys like we did with the Inferno to see what players like and don't like, and then we'll watch the data closely to see what's healthiest there. So going to be some interesting things when you can go in knowing what your loadout is going to do and knowing what the environment's going to be. There'll still be fog maps that kind of mix up the day, so it's not always high visibility.
Right.
But yeah, that's a big experiment coming. So we're looking forward to see how that goes.
They wanted to give true freedom of choice to the player, and so with their next night wildcards, they would be entirely optional, rather than a random chance like Inferno was. A player would simply select regular contracts if they wanted to play a normal game of Hunt, or they would select the wildcard contract for a shakeup of the regular gameplay loop. This was an incredible move from the dev team. This solved the entire problem of player agency that Inferno had created, giving those players that liked the game mode the ability to play it, while still allowing the wildcard contracts to be ignored by those that hated them. However, this didn't add any extra purpose to the game mode besides player enjoyment. Crazy, I know. People playing a game to simply enjoy it in 2023. Who would do that? And Crytek did understand this problem, adding a small bonus of 100 Hunt dollars to each bounty for anybody who extracted during the wildcard contracts. A admittedly small benefit for playing wildcards, to be sure, but it did add more purpose. We then wouldn't have any major changes to the wildcard system until April 20th, where we had the most significant change yet. If any of you were playing Hunt during this time, you probably know what I'm talking about. A new, quote, experimental wildcard system would be implemented, where instead of it being a regular game of Hunt played at nighttime with no significant benefit on complicated weekly schedules, the wildcards would only be on weekends and would be a guaranteed single objective contract with a 300 Hunt dollar bonus to any token extracted. And the schedule would be dumbed down as well, to simply be weekends going forward. Now, I don't need to tell you how impactful this really was. This simple update was insane, and I'll show you. Let's take a look at these numbers. See, it's interesting to note because Crytek even removes the wildcard for a week and a half, but the numbers stay higher than they were in the weeks before. Even though no other major update had come out, the numbers still stayed higher than before, and then they bring back the wildcards a couple weeks later. It makes me think that just adding the wildcards back at all made people log on the weekends regardless of whether or not wildcards were there at all. It brought players in, or brought them back. And we're going to ignore the numbers going down towards the end of this graph because that's getting towards where we are today, and those are post-monetization announcement changes, so a lot of those people aren't playing because of the blood bond changes. It's not related to what we're talking about, which is the wildcards. But it's very clear to me that once they added the extra Hunt dollars and made it every weekend, it increased the player numbers for the majority of this graph to numbers that we hadn't seen in a while. And I think that is very impressive. The numbers don't lie, baby, and I could tell you from my own experience, my friends and I get the most excited about these weekend wildcards. We run them for hours. It's so much fun. Getting a single objective, it's so fast-paced and hectic, and getting fat payouts when you succeed makes it all the more worth it. So, where does this leave us today? I've talked about a lot of stuff, but what conclusions can we draw here? Well, wildcard bounties got off to a rocky start in December of 2022. It was a very unique idea, but it wasn't fully fleshed out and had a problem with being entirely random, which made it incredibly divisive amongst players. Beyond the fact that the constant fire everywhere took a great toll on the CryEngine and caused a lot of performance problems for a lot of hunters, which was very vocalized by the community. But people did like the general idea, and so did the devs. So Crytek reformed the idea in the coming months, giving us the first night wildcard, and a small bonus for playing them. We were getting there, but not all the way yet. So Crytek went for the jugular in April and pushed out what I would say is unironically one of their best updates they've ever released in 5 years, while being so simple in retrospect. The April updates really ironed out a great system for not only player retention, but for long-term engagement. Now we get a shit ton of extra hunt dollars, better player retention, a fun, more competitive game mode, and more experiences with our friends every weekend playing Hunt Showdown. I love the wildcard system, and I'm glad Crytek added it to the game. I'm excited to see the future of where wildcards can go with other weather effects, and I hope you are too. Please, Crytek, give us snow for Christmas, please. Stay tuned for more content. If you enjoyed the video, let me know in the comments what you enjoyed and what I could improve. Subscribe and/or hop in the community Discord to join the clinical gang. Let's keep our drive to partner going as well. You guys keep giving me the most wonderful encouragement in DMs, in the Discord, in the comments, and I've never felt more proud of something I've made. I'm so motivated to make videos. I'm getting out of bed earlier and earlier each day. I can't thank you all enough for the support you've given me. Maybe one day I could do this as a job. God, that would be a dream, dude. By the way, I'm still looking for an artist who makes those really cringy YouTube avatars that people use for discussion videos. I think it would be a lot of fun to have one, so if you know any artists that do good work in that type of category, just let me know. And if there's any hunt YouTubers that want to collab, please head to my email below and contact me immediately. We will talk. Thank you for watching to the end of the video. I really, genuinely, wholeheartedly appreciate you so much. Stay tuned and stay blessed.
Let me grab it. I have conduit.
All right, lead protagonist of the hit game Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice.